Cloth dolls are very hard to clean. Get your soft scrub on there, clean your doll, and then wipe it off. You need to know if you have a $10,000 doll or a $200 doll, but you need to know. The dolls are surrounded by our emotions, so we attach ourselves to the dolls. We love our dolls. They're supposed to instantly make your life more beautiful. Hello, welcome to my doll shop. If you're new here, my name is Rachel. I am with Virtual Doll Convention. This is our Toast to 24. We are starting 2024 off with a wonderful celebration of dolls, and I love to do doll content and put it on the internet. So if you're new here, welcome. I am your doll bestie. I like to help you along the way. So I am constantly putting out content with some of my wonderful friends and collaborators all over the world sometimes and in here in our doll shop. And we love to do doll stuff. We talk about all kinds of doll stuff. So welcome. First of all, I want you to know, because you're clicking on this video likely because you're a doll collector, or maybe you're thinking about collecting dolls. You're likely interested in dolls in some way if you're clicking here. And guess what? Dolls are for everybody. That's one of the most important things that I can stress, is that doll collecting and dolls are for everybody. Sometimes when we get started in doll collecting or along the way, we'll have negative experiences that put us a little off balance, that might make us feel like maybe this isn't something we should be doing, or maybe I don't have the right stuff, or maybe. Get rid of all that. Clear the deck of all those thoughts, because truly doll collecting is for everybody. And if you're watching this, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so happy you're a part of my world. And one of the things that I stress a lot is that I am experiencing and learning and doing all of this right along with you. My story is a little bit different from a lot of the doll collectors and friends you might meet, because I grew up in a doll shop. I grew up in this doll shop. My mother started this doll shop over 40 years ago. And this used to be this building housed all different kinds of businesses in it over the years. But at one point it was a bank-owned location. The bank was trying to sell it. They had it listed for a big price, and my dad and my mom decided, hey, just make them this offer and see if they'll take it. And they took it, and it was wild. And so over the years, my mom lived her dream here, selling dolls and having a wonderful doll shop. And then she passed away in 2020, and I continued to have our doll shop here. I have reinvented it in many ways. The doll shop, the same spirit is here, and it's the same doll shop, and a lot of the same things are here, but the way we do business is completely different from how my mom used to do it. But I know that she is watching, and she is so proud that we have been able to maintain that we are still a doll shop now over these years, and we're continuing to thrive and connect with wonderful doll people across the world that enjoy doll content. So if you're clicking on this video, you likely have something to do with dolls. Now, dolls are for everybody, and we are clicking on this video because we're chatting about essential tips for every doll collector. Now, some of my tips in this video are going to pertain to vintage dolls, to antique dolls. So if you're anything like me, I like all doll content. We like doll content. So if we're talking about dolls, I'm in. Raise your hand if we're talking about dolls, if you're in, right? So it's fun to chat about dolls in any capacity. So some of my tips are going to be for care and maintenance for antique dolls. We have been an antique doll shop for the entire time we have been a shop. Just until Linda, our wonderful doll conservator and repair specialist, retired in June, we put out a lot of antique doll repair. And so I'm hoping to continue that someday. And it's very important to me. But right now we put out a lot of modern doll collecting, because that's a lot what we do here. And I like to mix it up as much as I possibly can. But we're constantly filming things that are happening in our world. But antique dolls and vintage dolls are a huge part of our world and our history, so we're going to be definitely touching on that. And then some of my tips are just essential tips if you're a doll collector in general. So I am so glad you are here. Thank you for attending and being a part of this, and let's dive in. And these are not in any particular order, but I'm gonna just start from, these are just things I had thought of and then put them in a list. But again, not one is more important than the other. I think they're all important. But our first one is understand that you will make a lot of decisions. And sometimes as doll people, that can be difficult for us. From the moment moment we buy our first doll to the moment we sell our last doll, if we sell them at all. The whole thing about collecting dolls is a tremendous amount of decision making. So if you don't like to make decisions, try to start making little decisions, because with doll collecting, you're going to be making a lot of decisions. So that is something that sometimes is hard for people that are not decision makers, are not decisive. And sometimes we can make a decision and regret it, or we can mull on something and let it plague us. Settle into the fact that a lot of decision making is going to be a part of your journey. Going to the show, buying the doll, collecting these dolls, a certain type of doll in the future, starting to collect new types of dolls. So my tip is to try and get as comfortable as you can in decision making with dolls, and know that if you'd make a decision with dolls and then you want to change course or go back or undo that decision and start doing something you were doing before, or rebuy a doll because you regret selling it or whatever, like, that's okay. That's okay. Dolls, I have found that things will come back to you, and nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent, especially in dolls. So my next essential tip for being a doll collector is to stay flexible. And I mean this in the sense that the heart wants what the heart wants. Here's my story in a nutshell. So when I grew up in the antique and vintage doll world, went to antique and vintage doll shows and conventions. I even went to shows for a big part of my life where modern dolls were strictly not allowed. And that did a number on me in a way, because I used to literally turn my nose up at modern dolls, thinking that it was just not the right choice. It was almost like I was definitely conditioned to think that they were just maybe a lesser part of doll collecting, and the elite way to collect was antique dolls. And now I have learned that not only is it okay to enjoy any part of doll collecting, that it enhances the entire experience. Now that I have my wings, now that I've learned and I'm on the other side of it all, I know that I can enjoy and switch course anytime I want. So, and you can too. So that's the thing. So if you have been a modern doll collector your entire life, and now vintage or antique dolls or something about that realm is starting to speak to you, but you have always had this badge where you were the person in the group that just did BJDs, and now you're starting to change course, that's okay. And if you've always done antique dolls and you never saw yourself as a modern doll collector, and now you're enjoying fashion, modern fashion dolls, or modern child dolls, or modern art dolls, or any type of modern doll, and you feel kind of funky about it, I don't know about you, but when I first started, I felt almost like I was cheating on my persona that I was. And it was like I had to sit there. I had to sit there with that and almost do some internal work to know that it's okay. You can change course at any time, so stay flexible. Keep your heart open to possibilities. You can do whatever you want in dolls because it's your journey, and you get to enjoy them in any capacity that is good for your heart and good for your soul and good for your world, because that's what dolls do. They enhance our world. They make our lives better just by being in our world. And so if something catches your eye, don't think that you have to be any certain way about doll collecting because of the way you've been in the past. And I hope that speaks to you a little bit, because that was a big one for me, and my journey as a doll collector is I can do whatever I want, but in the beginning I didn't feel like I could. And that can be the root of a lot of trauma that we have had in the past, in experiences that made us feel that way. And I am here to help undo that trauma. So if you have had those experiences, just know that a lot of us out here have had them too. And I am rooting for you in your doll journey, no matter where that takes you. So when you start to get that itch, when you start to, if there is a spark that goes off where, you know what, I'm starting to get interested. I have been interested in antique curaes my entire life, but these BJDs are starting to speak to me, or these Robert Tonner dolls are starting to speak to me. Let them. and just enjoy the journey. If you've been doing whatever you've been doing and you want to start doing something else, that's life, and that's growth, in my opinion. I think that that is growth as a doll collector. There's so many wonderful doll collectors that are watching this that have been coming and doing conventions and doing so many videos and wonderful things for a long time, and they collect all kinds of dolls, and I absolutely love that. But I'm speaking to the ones that are just starting and you've done one thing and you're afraid to do another. Let me tell you, sometimes starting in a new journey of doll collecting is one of the most exhilarating and fun things, and you can meet new friends that you've ever done. So let yourself stay flexible and let yourself, and when you hear that itch telling you to look more into that, to join that group, maybe be a fly on the wall for a little bit, but do it. And have fun doing it, and don't feel bad at all. Don't look back. Just go and do it. Number 3, of course, this applies to all doll collectors, is research and knowledge. Sometimes when we get started in doll collecting or we start something new, we just go off the deep end, and sometimes we don't maybe take our time or do our research. I'm guilty of this too. I'll just go off the deep end and I'll see something and I'm like, I want that now, and I go and I just do it all. And sometimes that's okay, especially if you're buying from the right person or whatever, but man, does it pay off to have some knowledge of when you're out and about and you're finding dolls maybe in unexpected places, or you're walking into a house and you just never know where you're going to find things. And so having some knowledge, or at least having some resources to look into, helps tremendously, and you need them when you least expect them. We're in an age now where everything is at the tip of your fingers. You can get everything from the internet, but let me tell you, lean on the people before us, and many of them that are still among us, that have done the hard work of writing these books and old auction catalogs. Holy cow. Get your hands on some of the old auction catalogs, not even that old, recent auction catalogs from some of the big doll auction houses. I'm talking, you know, there's several of them, but of course the one that first comes to mind, of course, is Therialt's. Our doll shop here is full of cabinets full of books they've written, but also just the auction catalog, because it says what it is, and it gives the information, and you can learn it. And you can learn it just by looking at the picture and familiarizing yourself with what that looks like. Now, of course, all dolls have prettier versions, nicer versions, especially prettier versions of everything, which is what we look for as doll collectors. Like, that one is especially pretty. But once you learn that stuff, it feels so cool to know it. And books are, people are giving them away. I mean, you can get any online, you can get them for so inexpensive these days. They used to be really expensive. Now they're not. Get you a cup of tea on the next snow day, and just start every day. Maybe do 5 minutes, maybe challenge yourself for if you have all the books, but you're watching this, take this as your sign to read 5 minutes a day. And I'm going to do that with you. I'm going to do that with you because I have the books too, and I don't do it. But then when I do it, I learn so much that sticks with me, and it helps tremendously. Now, I have a big library, so when I say I don't do it, anytime I need to, which is pretty often, I probably consult our library in the back twice a week, and I pull open the books and I can just learn so much, just like right away, and it's really good. So arm yourself with knowledge. Maybe you're listening to this right now because you need that little boost to just open that book that's been sitting on your nightstand or sitting in your library for the last 10 years that you bought that you've never read. Let's do it. Let's make a pact right now. We're going to start reading our books and try to absorb as much knowledge as we possibly can from those good books out there. Our next one is some general care and maintenance. With dolls and antique dolls and vintage dolls and modern dolls, they all require some level of cleaning, care, maintenance. We could do an entire convention just based on that type of thing, but we're going to chat just a few things about general cleaning and maintenance, mainly for antique dolls. Let's get in the back, and then for more in-depth coverage of this, you can find it on our YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm not going to be able to go completely into the nitty-gritty of basic doll maintenance, but we can talk about a little of the things. And then also on my YouTube channel, I have filmed with Linda over the years, countless. Type in doll repair, or basically if you put in repair, you're going to see a lot of them. But for the most part, just broadly speaking, for antique dolls, it is amazing what you can do with a little bit of soap and water. You can clean, or with a damp, wet rag, you can lightly clean a bisque doll and get off so much of that surface dirt, so much of the grit and just things that they pick up by sitting there, dust, with a damp soap and just an unscented, just normal soap and water. Or just start with a damp rag at first. Now, most things, most leather bodies, you're gonna, on an antique doll, you're gonna wanna leave alone. But you can use cream of tartar. And we have a video on our channel, I'll show you a little snippet where you can, and I think I asked Linda in that video too, like, is it pronounced? I just can never get it right. But you can get out a lot of that dirt on a German doll body. Here, I'm just gonna shimmy on over to this brew. Christopher's over here working his magic for our fashion department. But you can get off a lot of the surface dirt just by really taking this little toothbrush, getting your cream of tartar. Look at this white spot right here. And it's not just the cream of tartar. It actually cleans the leather. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but I promise it looks a little bit better. If you want to take the time and do that, you can. Now, if your leather body has a hole in it, you can take a glove made out of kid leather that you can find in an estate sale. You can buy them online and you can patch it. You can patch it with some glue, some great glue or some amazing glue or some good kind of glue. You can just straight up patch it. Same with cloth bodies. Cloth dolls are very hard to clean. Most of the time I will say leave them alone. Don't even try to clean a cloth doll because you can stain it. We have ruined cloth dolls here trying to clean them, especially submerging them when they're a lot more delicate than you think. So don't do that. But a basic bisque doll, you can do minor surface cleaning and it will look brand new. You can also, a lot of times, unless it's a very fragile silk or something that, or a velvet or something that can't be submerged, if it's like a pretty sturdy cotton garment, you can clean that with Boost and Perk. And you can get this from Dolls Parts, not sponsored. We get this from Dolls Parts, Boost and Perk. They're made to use together. And you put them in a little bath with some water, let them soak for a few hours, go like this, you know, move them around once in a while, rinse them very well, and then clip them to a little fan just like this and let them dry, and then lightly iron them. You can always turn up the heat, but don't start too hard, and then iron them. And your doll can look literally brand new sometimes. Clean the bisque. You can clean the bodies with Gojo. It's like a shop cleaner for cars, but you can use Gojo, the kind without the grit. All this is on our videos. Another thing that we use a lot is soft scrub to clean the bisque dolls. Take a little bit of soft scrub with some water, get you a toothbrush. Again, we've put this on our channel a ton, but this is just kind of an overview, some top tips. You can get this at the grocery store and get your soft scrub on there and then start clean your doll and then wipe it off. And you can do that with bisque dolls that have been fired right. And it's amazing. So get yourself some of these products. I'm happy to support Barbara over there at Dolls Parts, but also we've been using these products for years. Another thing is, a lot of wigs can be cleaned too. This is Sprayway Glass Cleaner. You can use glass cleaner to clean doll wigs. Just start with a little bit and get a little bit on there and use the glass cleaner and kind of dampen it a little bit, and this stuff helps clean doll wigs. I don't know why. It's just something we learned years ago, and we have been using this to clean doll wigs. Mohair doll wigs, not modern doll wigs. Modern doll wigs, we usually use the styling stuff from Dolls Parts as well. It's like a styling thing. But for antique mohair and human hair doll wigs, you can do that. You can also shampoo doll wigs and style them and do all that, but usually they're a little bit too fragile for all that, and you just need to do a little bit of spot cleaning and then get a curling iron and curl the hair, and they can look so much better. But again, look at our channel. This is just such a brief overview. This desk looks absolutely crazy. Please don't look at it. But Linda left a bit unexpectedly because she had to sell her house and move very quickly. We knew it was coming, but when it happened, it was very fast. And the desk is insane. But here we've done so many things, but you can just do basic things at home and your dolls will look so much better. This is just general maintenance. And the restringing too is something to just keep note of. Yeah, you can learn to do that yourself. I personally don't think it's very easy, even though it is sort of easy for some people. For some people it is easy To me, I don't think it's that easy, but we have videos for that on our channel, and there are other videos, of course, and then there's wonderful doll hospitals and people through the Doll Doctors Association and just through Google that are hopefully willing to help. So I hope that was just like the tip of the iceberg. We can go into more of general doll care and maintenance, but this was just like super overview, and I hope that helped a little bit. I'm being kind of wordy, so I'm gonna try and not elaborate as much on all of my tips, but the next one is condition matters. And of course, duh, you would think, yes, of course condition matters, but I can't tell you how many times as a seasoned doll person, I do this for a living, and I still make this mistake. So half of these are because I need to hear them too, and I need to listen to my own advice. I'll get really excited about something and I'll just buy it. And then I'll find out later that it has damage that I didn't even look for, or certain things that I didn't look for or do my research or find, you know, and it's not the seller's fault half the time. Sometimes they don't know either, but let's all learn and try and help each other. So I have bought stuff from people that inherited it. So they don't know the difference. I'm the one that should know. Me, I'm the one that should know. And if you become as knowledgeable as you possibly can as a buyer, you're gonna know. You'll probably know way more than the seller themselves. And how great is that? So look for what you can, especially when you're doing antique and vintage. Check it for things that are on it that you might not see with the unaided eye, if you can. And it's okay to ask for extra pictures when you're dealing with somebody on the internet. Yes, as a seller, it can be annoying if somebody asks for 10,000 photos, but I understand, especially on an antique doll or something very expensive. And be patient with the seller too. But condition matters, and I have had many times where I just got too excited. I bought something and I didn't check, or I didn't do my research, and I thought it was one thing when it was another thing, and then I was singing the blues up there a little bit. But of course, at the end of the day, if you buy something because you love it, you're always fine. But you don't want to pay $1,000 for something in good condition and then find out it has hairlines or things that you didn't really see, when it should have been priced maybe $200 or $300 or $500, depending on the level of condition. So that's one that I'm gonna do more of just myself, is making sure that I inspect things a little bit more, don't move as fast, and just try to do my due diligence as much as I possibly can. Okay, the next one is budget wisely. Now, you might think, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense too, but also splurge. And I'm telling you this because you need to hear it. And it might sound like she's a salesperson, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you this from a doll collector to a doll collector. Sometimes you just have to splurge. And case in point, my two oversized Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls, they're one of my splurges. And if you're new here, then I want you to see them. So we're gonna go up front and take a look at them, and I'm gonna just explain and show why I splurged and why I'm so glad that I did. So we're talking about not being afraid to splurge. Here's my story. These are like my holy grail. We all have our holy grails. Share your holy grail in the video. I'd love to hear about your holy grail. Look how big this doll is. You've seen these dolls in a lot of my videos, but when these came up, I had no idea. A wonderful person on the internet that knew I was looking for these sent me the listing, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I put in a very large bid on both of them. And I probably shouldn't be saying this, because next time they go up for auction, they're gonna be like, oh, that Rachel Hoffman. But you know what? Anne went for a lot. I can't remember exactly, but I think she was around $5,000. And Andy was around $3,000 or something. I can't remember. But you know what? It doesn't really matter, because the amount of joy and fulfillment and love they have given back to me is a millionfold. I can't put a price on it. I cannot put a price on it. They have just been so good for my mental health. They have been like therapy. They have been entertainment. I have featured them in tons of videos for my business, for just doll collecting. It is so fun. If you have oversized Raggedy Ann and Andy's, you can send them my way. Voland, Raggedy Ann, and Andy's. These are the super oversized ones. These are rarer than the regular oversized ones. There was only about 110 sets of these made at all in history. So worth it. So when I say budget for the other extreme. Budget for having something come up completely unexpected and having that, you know, I'm not going to say the bad word, but sometimes you just have to say fit and do it. But I'm an enabler. But you don't want to regret not doing it. You know what I mean? So some people just tried to come in and, you know, and they're not doll people. They're just kind of, you know, wandering around. It's very cold outside, but they were bundled up nice. But they came in and they saw Paul standing there and me just standing here like this. I was like, hi, hi. And if they were doll collectors, of course I would have had them come in. But as soon as I was like, hi, we're a doll shop. And they were like, okay, bye. So bye. You know what I mean? Like, I am out and proud. It is so fun. And if I was going to think about putting my money into something, whether these will be worth, they might increase. They might sell for whatever they sell. Maybe they'll sell for $2,000. I don't know, but I don't care. They have given back to me so much more than anything I could have invested in financially. So don't spend so much money that you lose your house and you don't have a car and you're living on the streets. Like, don't do that. But don't be afraid to just, when it's the right thing, go for it. Just go for it. Buy the doll. Just go for it. And Andy's sitting back there too. He's wonderful. But if you're new to my channel, then you got to know these dolls. My next tip is storage and display. And this one I'm going to share with you a sad story. This is a sad, sad story. But it has a happy ending. Sometimes, and this is the thing, like sometimes we know better, yet we still do it. We had back in the day, if you've been with me for a while, you're gonna remember this. We had my grandpa's motorhome parked out front of our store for like 10 years. My mom just refused to sell it. It was something that was personal to her. It meant a lot to her. It just reminded her of her dad, and that's why she never did anything with it. But that motorhome, oh my gosh. But at one point, I had bought a bunch of dolls from a collection, and I had so many dolls that I actually stored some in the trailer. Now this is very, very old footage. This was way before I even started Virtual Doll Convention, and you're gonna see I put them up in the top of the RV where you sleep, like up in the top, and I didn't know, but it was leaking. And these Show and Hut, there was Show and Hut dolls, a big box of them. They took a nice long water bath for a really long time, and it's amazing that they survived as well as they did. I'm just going to show you some clips from this event and you can see, but here's the happy ending. So many people from Show and Communities and the Show and Hut restoration group on Facebook, there's several of them, but there's a few that are just really wonderful. They ended up buying these dolls. I called them waterlogged dolls. They started molding. They had black mold on them. Oh my gosh, there were so many problems. And these wonderful doll restoration people brought them back to life in the most beautiful ways. I am going to post a couple photos. I only have a couple before and afters. I didn't follow tons of their stories, but a few people came back and showed me the before and afters, and holy cow, they looked so beautiful. But you'd think you would, I'm telling you this tip because you would think like that I would have thought of that. I didn't think of that. I put them in there. I thought this is all good. We've had this RV forever. I never thought to check the roof. So if you have dolls and you're storing them in a place that you don't normally store them, make sure that there isn't condensation that's going to come in and create mold on your doll. Don't store your dolls in plastic or things that can start condensation and create things that are bad for the dolls and for the fabric. As a professional, you would think that I would have that, but I didn't. No, and a lot of dolls, unfortunately, they were all the Show and Hut dolls were all taken by wonderful people who restored them, but it shouldn't have happened. Things happen. If something like that happens, if you accidentally break a doll, if your dog knocks a doll off the counter or whatever, that's all happened to me. My pug dog years ago knocked a All-Bisque doll out of my hand. It was $1,000 doll and it shattered. It happens to all of us, so just know that. But do the best you can and try to just do the things that almost seem like common sense. Though the things that I didn't do that were common sense came back to bit me so many times. One time we had a bunch of dolls, this was years ago, but we had a bunch of China head dolls in the front of the doll shop, and we have these big beautiful windows in the front of the doll shop. They're now covered with vinyl that we can see through, but at the time they were not. And we moved them at one point, and when we took the dolls out of the cases, and we didn't notice this because it happened so slowly, the front of the doll, the clothing, was a different color from the back of the doll. The front of the doll was like a beautiful light blue cotton, and the back was a vibrant blue cotton, because we didn't notice, and we are a professional doll shop, and they weren't like right in the sunlight. It was like, it just kind of came in a little bit from the side. But we had like 10 dolls that the sun damaged their clothes a ton, and the clothes were almost basically ruined because they were half on one side and half on the other side. So just think about those things. It can happen easily where you're not thinking about it. Just be aware. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Hopefully my sad stories help a little bit, just to be aware of things that you don't expect that could happen, because I don't want anything bad to happen to your dolls. We try so hard to get our dolls and to keep them in good condition and to do all these wonderful things, and we try so hard in our displays. We don't need them ruined by leaky ceilings, or by condensation, or by mold, or by things that could otherwise be prevented. So just keep an eye out and be aware for those things. My next tip is to document your collection. And I am not by any means telling you to get software and to get an Excel spreadsheet and to go and do all these things, because I'm not doing them. I'm not doing that. I know basically what I have, and if you are the type of person to document it in that type of depth, wonderful. That's the top of the mountain. That's what we all strive for, is to have that thorough of a catalog. Here's what my mom did, which was so incredibly helpful after her passing. She pinned little notes to the underside of the dress, and that helped so much. She even did it to her teddy bears. She just put a little note on one of our business cards, or even just on a little piece of loose leaf paper, that said, it would have been really nice if she had given me some details about like tentative value, but I can figure that out, and you can too, by looking up comparables and things on the internet. It's just nice to know what things are worth. Big or small is knowledge. You need to know. You need to know if you have a $10,000 doll or a $200 doll, but you need to know. What she put on there though was things that were important to her about the doll. So even if it didn't pertain to value, it meant so much to me after her passing to just know what was important to her about that doll. I wish she had done that to so many of her dolls. A lot of her dolls I knew from our conversations, but turn up a slip on a dress and just see that pinned thing in there, whether it was just something that was like a sentence, or she would say this doll was pictured on this book in this catalog or whatever. Sometimes her notes were kind of in depth. It meant so much to me to just have the note as a person that was dealing with these dolls and then putting them on display, to know the things that were important to her. So when I say document your collection, you don't have to go and do all the things, but on your dolls that mean something to you, pin a little something underneath. And even if it's a very expensive doll, definitely pin something underneath and have it say, you know, this doll in this year was purchased for $10,000. Now maybe that doll in 10 years or after you go to heaven might be worth $1,500 or $2,000 or $20,000. Maybe it increased in value. It's important for people to know that. So put little notes on the dolls. Just pin it right underneath, and it doesn't have to be a big thing, but I promise you those notes will surface someday, and the person that is going to read them at some point will be so grateful you did it. So I hope that helps a little bit. Well, my next tip is to join doll collecting communities, and most of those are going to be online if you're lucky enough to have local chapters of doll clubs that are active and looking for members, or maybe you want to start one. Even better, that is so cool, is to create a community around you. Sometimes as doll collectors, we start to feel a bit isolated. We might think we're the only one. Sometimes we feel like we're out on an island. And the whole reason I started Virtual Doll Convention in the first place was not to make money. I started it, and I'm just laughing about that now, because what a journey it's been. What a journey it's been. And now I have figured out how to support myself with it. But when I started it, it was about uniting people, because I used to go to all the doll conventions across the country, sometimes even internationally, and I would film a lot of it. And I did a lot of this for Ruby Lane. I did a lot of it for my own things that I was doing. But when I would put it out on the internet, the biggest feedback I would get is people were so grateful to be a part of it. It made them feel like they were less alone. It made them feel like they were there. They could buy things from people that I was filming, and then that in turn helped them and helped the buyer and the seller. And it was so wonderful, and I felt so good about what I was doing that I started Virtual Doll Convention because I wanted to do a doll convention that was completely online, that was accessible to everybody for a really small amount of money. And that first one was just so incredible, and we had so much fun. I am so proud of what I do at Virtual Doll Convention with all of the amazing people that I work with. We have been going for 5 years. 5 years. When I first started it, I had no clue of how long I was going to do it, or how I was going to do it, or how I was going to maintain it. And thank goodness we do things that also support our business, such as the subscription boxes, such as the tip jar. There is absolutely no way I could do this without your tips, and that is how I pay the editors. That's how I pay for so many of the costs that are associated with doing an online event, especially if we're traveling or adding, big components to it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. But join those communities, because why? If you're surrounded by nice people that support you and are really fun to be around you, it is good for your mental health. And your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And doll collecting and being with our doll friends and having that camaraderie is one of the best things that you can do for your mental health. Every time that you'll get on that Zoom call with your friends, even if it's just a couple people, even if it's just one person, and you can just have that connection and have that talk, or have that fun exchange in the comments on a doll thing, that is just like taking a vitamin. That is just like drinking some green juice or eating a healthy salad. It is just as important for your mental health as anything that you could do physical. So this is just a reminder to do that and to reach out. And when you start to feel, maybe you deal with seasonal depression, maybe you're dealing with something that is really difficult, and it's, sometimes the scales start to go like this. Lean on your dolls in those times. Lean on your dolls and your doll friends in those times. Doll people are extra sensitive. They just are. We understand the complexities of the world on a deeper level than I think a lot of people. And I'm saying that because of my personal experience with so many of you. We are deep feeling people, and we care about each other. And so sometimes we're afraid to say something. Sometimes we're afraid to share our story and our journey. And if you don't want to share, if it's too personal and too sensitive and you want to keep it close, then keep it close. You don't have to, but if you do, I guarantee you there's other people out there who understand your journey, who support your journey, and who would love to have you as a friend. Because something that I know about you is that you are a fantastic person, and you would make a very good friend to another person out there who would love to be your friend. So don't be afraid to make friends. At any age, at any stance in your life, no matter what you got, we can get the internet a lot of times at a local coffee shop. I mean, there's really inexpensive ways to connect with people. And if you can see people live too, make the effort. Make the effort. And if someone around you is trying to start a club or whatever, support them as much as you possibly can. So I hope that helps just encourage you to stay active in your doll collecting journey and in your doll collecting world. And even if you're not actively buying dolls, still stay active, because it's fun. It's fun to be around people. It's fun to make friends. It's fun to talk about stuff. It's fun to see other people's stuff. It's just fun, isn't it? I think it's fun. All right, let's see what else we got. My next one is to write down your wishes for your dolls for when you go to heaven. Now, this one I could do an entire video. In fact, I probably will. It's a good idea. But when you go to heaven, I'm speaking about when you die. When you go and chat with the great Almighty. Well, a lot of times there are dolls that are left behind. One of the saddest things that I see a lot of times is people in their advanced age and looking at their mortality and not thinking about other things and enjoying their dolls, but scrambling on to sell them. And now everyone's story is different, and everyone's needs are different, and not everyone has the same support and the same community and the same resources, and I get that. So I am speaking from a level of it's hard for me to say what circumstances you have, but what I want to just say is, if you create a will and you have that documented with your bank or with somebody that is helping manage your estate, and you have numbers on there and you have a plan for what to do with your dolls or who to call about your dolls when you go to heaven, that way you can just enjoy them until you die. And that is so incredibly important, to be surrounded by the things that you love and your dolls and to enjoy them. People come to me and say, oh, I'm afraid my children are gonna throw them in a dumpster. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know anybody that doesn't like money, that doesn't want to have money, especially children. Children always want money. And if they know that your dolls are valuable, or they can at least call an auction house to help clear the dolls and get them in the hands of more doll collectors, they're going to do that. And if you have children that have the mentality that they would just throw away your things, make sure that they are not in charge of your will. Put somebody in charge that knows what they're doing and knows the value of things and cares about the things that were important to you. You can put the executor of your will as somebody that is not your child, that is going to throw something in the dumpster. And that is important. That is important, to just not let your children bully you and tell you you have to sell things because it's going to be a burden to them. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about you. And if you want to sell some of your things because it would make your life more manageable, if it would feel freeing to let go of some of the tangible things that are surrounding you, then do it. But don't do it because of pressure, and make sure to write your wishes down. There's a lot of auction houses, local and national, that love to take on doll collections and will do a really great job and get them in the hands of doll collectors and sell them. And then you don't have to worry about it. So let me know if you want me to do a longer video on this, because I can. But that one's a big one, is to write things down for when you go to heaven. And that way you can know that things are going to be taken care of, and you can relax and enjoy your dolls, because that's what they're there for. They're there to surround you and bring you comfort. Comfort, not anxiety, not pain, not things to be worried about. You're supposed to get them, and they're supposed to instantly make your life more beautiful. That's what they do. They're beauty. They're beauty. They're so fun to be around and just to have. Sometimes we feel like, you know, I haven't played with my dolls for a while, I better sell them all. No. Sometimes it's nice just to know that you have them for a rainy day. In 5 or 10 years, you're going to pull them out and be inspired again. But just because you haven't played with them in the last 6 months or a couple years doesn't mean that you have to get rid of them. Enjoy your dolls for as long as they serve you. So my next one, and I've been chatting for a long time, so we only have a couple more left, but I'm really enjoying chatting with you about life and dolls and what they mean to us, and just all of our journeys. I'm loving reading your comments and hearing more about your journey. But the next one is to be patient. Sometimes it's just not meant to be, and this has happened to me many times. I have sold things that I regret, things that have haunted me, things that I just wish I didn't. But in that moment and in that time and what I needed to do right then, it made the most sense for me at the time. Sometimes we can't make the right decision with what we don't know. We don't know the future. I didn't know that I would be in a different position at the time that I sold a lot of things around the time that my mom was getting sick. I sold things, and I would buy amazing things, and I'd get nervous and I'd sell them real fast for just a little bit of profit, if any, because I was just nervous, and I didn't have enough experience under my belt to just calm down and to take my time and to make the best decision. For me, I made a lot of hurried decisions, and sometimes we just have to. That was what was going on in my life. That was how I was able to run my business and get the money that I needed at the time to do the next thing, was I made a lot of very hurried decisions. And so looking back, I wish I had taken my time a little bit, even slept on it for a day. I sold and just did some things with dolls that I wish I didn't do. And even if I had slept on it for a day or two, maybe the outcome would have been different. But man, did I rush a lot. So if you can, just be patient. Know that if you didn't get the doll at that time, if you're patient and you put out enough good vibes in the world, maybe a better one will come around. If you're having a hard time mentally, or this stressful thing over here is telling you that you need to sell or do that with that over there, I get that. Sometimes we need to recoup money. Sometimes we need to sell some dolls because we can't walk through our house, or because we're moving or whatever. But make sure to sit on it long enough that you know in your bones bones that it's the right decision for you, because I don't want you to get caught up in regret. Doll regrets, ooh, some of the worst kind. You don't have to tell me all your doll regret, because I don't want you digging up old stuff that is not fun to think about. But I have a couple doll regrets that I'll probably take to my grave, of dolls that I just wished I didn't. But again, at the time, you know, I couldn't have changed it. And so now all I can do is know that there's another one around the corner, and I'm prepared. I'm ready. I'm ready this time. So next time something magical and amazing comes my way, I know that I can take my time with it, because I've been there. I've been there. I've made really rash and hasty decisions with dolls, buying and selling. Now I know not to do that. And even just taking a little bit of time. I'm talking about like a day. Sometimes just sleeping on it. Don't think about things late at night. The dawn is always worse before, what do they say? Like the night is always worse before the dawn. At night, at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, middle of the night, things compress, and they're so much worse than they are after a good night's sleep, fresh in the morning. So always just give yourself a little bit of time. Don't let somebody pressure you to buy or sell anything. Don't let anybody pressure you to buy or sell anything. The way that I like to buy things is zero pressure. The way that I like to sell things, the way that I sell things, is zero pressure. If it doesn't flow naturally to me or to you, I don't want it. And so be patient, take your time. I promise the whole experience is gonna be so much better if you do that. My only thing though is, if you're at a doll show and you walk and the doors at the doll show open or the doll convention open, and you charge into that room and you get into that booth and you see something, this is where we're talking about being prepared, because you can't just sit around and sleep on it. If you go up to your hotel room at a doll convention for something wonderful and you try and sleep on it, I guarantee you the next day it's going to be gone. So in situations where you got to make a split decision like that, be prepared. Get ready. Remember our first tip on this was to be prepared to make decisions. So sometimes you got to make the decision to just bam, to just do it, to just buy it. Not buying something, I guarantee you, is, and living with that regret can be a lot worse than paying off that credit card over 6 months. Get you a credit card that has a low interest rate, or one that, or PayPal does a credit card that no interest if it's paid off within 6 months. I use that thing all the time, and I just pay it off within 6 months. And then it's like when you pay a few $100s a month on something instead of having to pay thousands right out of the gate, it almost feels like so much easier. Let me know if you feel the same, but it just feels so much easier. And I do that with a lot of stuff. Sometimes I don't want to spend all my money at once. Sometimes I just want to pay it off a little bit. So, and almost all sellers take credit cards. So sometimes if you have to pay a little interest or whatever, like, anyway, that one kind of got off in the weeds, but I think it's important to talk about. My last one, and I've been gabbing your ear off, but man, this has been fun, is to enjoy the journey. Doll collecting should be fun. It should be fun. You're gonna have moments of regret. Prepare yourself. You're going to have moments of sadness. Not getting a doll or having something slip through your fingers or something like that. You are going to have moments of sadness, because our emotions are surrounded by, the dolls are surrounded by our emotions. So we attach ourselves to the dolls. We love our dolls. We love our dolls, and you will have heartbreaking moments. Just like any love story, any romance, you're going to have those moments with the dolls of heartbreak, basically. But for the most part, it's gonna just be a beautiful love story. Just a beautiful journey and a beautiful love story. And make sure to set your boundaries, and don't hang out and don't put up with anyone else's crap that bothers you about your dolls. Sometimes in life, here's what you can do. You don't have to be defensive. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. Let someone be wrong about you. If somebody is talking crap about you being a doll collector, or saying you don't need this or that, or saying, why are you buying dolls as an adult? You know what? There's so much power in just saying, stepping back and saying, okay, that's all you gotta do. Let them be wrong about you, and you enjoy your journey and you have fun. That's what it's about, is having fun. At the end of the day, one thing that I think about a lot with my content and the products that I offer is, are you entertained? I want you to be entertained. I want you to be having fun. And so anyone that tries to steal your joy, you don't have to win. Just say, okay, All right. And you just keep enjoying that journey. And you just keep having fun and having the best time in dolls, because that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. You're always welcome at my table. I love being your doll best friend, your doll bestie. And I cannot wait to share more experiences this year and in the coming years. My hope is that I can continue to be doing this. This has been the beyond my wildest dreams for a job. And I want to thank you so much for making it possible by sharing our content, being a part of our world, subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, all of this, buying our stuff. I mean, whatever you do to be a part of my world helps fuel my journey, and my journey is about fueling your journey. So thank you for working with me and being a part of my life and letting me being a part of yours. I love you so very much. This was so much fun, and I'll see you on the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.